Hi, this is John with SysEng Quick, and today I'm going to show you how to install Debian Linux. On the Debian.org website, you need to download the installer. You can either get the network installer, which is a small installation image that allows you to download the packages while you're installing Debian, or you can get a full DVD. To get that, click on Getting Debian and go down to one of the larger complete installation images. They have torrents down here to download them, or you can get them with other methods like downloading them over a browser. I already have the full DVD install image of Debian Stretch 9.3, so let's go ahead and see how we install that. I'm going to be using VirtualBox for this. When you boot up your machine, it's going to start the installer boot menu. You can select Graphical Install, and now it wants you to choose your language. Since I'm in the US, I'm going to pick English. I'm in the US, United States, from my territory. And the keyboard layout is American English. Those settings are important because they won't have some of the other settings you need to configure in your region if you don't select them correctly there, such as the time zone. Once it's finished loading the installer, it's going to try to configure the network with DHCP. It shouldn't have any problem doing that on VirtualBox from me, and you will definitely need to be able to do that if you're using the network installer. Once it's done, it's going to ask you to set up your host name. You can choose whatever you like there, and a domain name. Debian separates the domain name from the host name, so don't put the domain name in the host name part. I'm going to leave that blank, don't need one, but if you have one for your area, go ahead and choose it. Next, it's going to ask you to type your root password in twice. This is for the super user account, and then it wants you to make a new user. This is for the day-to-day tasks, not administrative tasks. So, then it will suggest a username. You can change it if you like, and then it'll ask you for a password. Once you're done, it's going to ask you for the time zone. I'm in the Eastern time zone. And now it's going to start partitioning the disk. It's going to give you a few options. Guided will do most of the work for you. If you want to set up LVM, which is the Linux Logical Volume Management, you might choose a second option. You can also use encrypted LVM. I usually go with guided, use entire disk, and set up LVM for a home station, but you may want to use manual if you have more complex partitioning needs. I'm going to go ahead and select guided, and we can always edit it at the end. It'll ask you which hard drive you want to use. So I've got VirtualBox, there's only one. It gives you all files in one partition, which is recommended for new users, meaning there won't be any separate partitions. You might want to separate them. There are reasons to do that, but if you're just setting up a desktop operating system, all files in one partition is usually fine. I'll go ahead and choose that. Now it asks you to confirm that you want to write the LVM stuff, and then it's going to give you the option to change the partitions. This is the same as you would see for the manual partitioning. You can go through and change things here. Down here you can see it's set up two partitions on the drive, a primary boot partition with ext2 file system, and a logical partition with LVM. And on the LVM, it's chosen Debian-VG for the volume group, and it's root and swap for the two partitions that it's made in there, or the two volumes, I should say. So we've got one root volume, which is ext4, and one swap volume. So if you want to change that, you can do that here. Otherwise, just go ahead and select Finish and write changes to disks. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as it is and hit Continue. It'll ask you if you're sure about that. Do you want to write changes to the disk? I'll go ahead and say yes. Once it's done partitioning and formatting those partitions, it's going to install the base system. This is all the stuff that Debian needs just to run day to day. Afterwards, it will ask you for extra packages you may want to install. Alright, now it's asking us if we have another CD or DVD we want to use. Generally the answer will be no, but sometimes if you use a CD image, you might have more than one CD. There are extra DVD images, but I have never seen any need to have any of those. It'll ask you now if you want to use a network mirror. This is for downloading extra packages. I suggest you choose yes, and choose a mirror close to where you are. So I'm in the US, and I'm going to choose a mirror close to where I am. That's the Indiana University mirror. It will ask you if you need an HTTP proxy to get out to the world. Generally the answer is no. And now it's going to configure the package manager with that new network mirror. It's going to ask you now if you want to participate in the package usage survey. This gives anonymous statistics about which packages are used in Debian. It's fine to choose no or yes, whatever you like. I don't think it harms anything, so if you want to say yes, go ahead. And now it's going to ask you what additional packages that you want to install. If you want a graphical installation, you're going to want to choose Debian Desktop Environment, and then choose one of the options below for which desktop you want. So GNOME and KDE are the most popular, and then XFCE is also pretty good. I've never used Cinnamon or Mate, but I've heard good things about them. LXDE is a very lightweight thing, so if you have very low system resources, you might want to use LXDE. I generally go with XFCE, but right now I'm not going to install any graphical user interface. We can always do that later. It also selects print server by default. I'm going to turn that off. Who has printers nowadays? I don't know. So, SSH server, I'm going to go ahead and select that so we can remote into the system and hit continue. And standard system utilities, I always leave that checked. Now it's going to install all those packages that we asked for. Alright, now it's going to install the Grub bootloader. If you are using a BIOS boot system, the older boot partition, you will definitely want to say yes to install the Grub bootloader, the master boot record. Since I'm using VirtualBox, I did choose BIOS boot, so yes, I want to use the master boot record. If you have a UEFI system, you'll need to do that instead. It's going to ask you which device to install it to. Sometimes it can't know where the MBR is. It's dev SDA most of the time. And now the install is complete. You hit continue and it's going to reboot into Debian. And there you are. That's how you install Debian Linux. See you next time.